Hello and welcome to episode, why am I still doing the lead-ins? You complain every single time.
Because, I don't know, it just seems more professional that way. Yeah, you're right, I probably should do it. And be like, hello everybody out there in podcast land, it's Lesbian Talk, how you doing tonight?
See, do the lead-in.
Well, it's episode 54. This is our much-touted LARPing episode, which, we kind of teased for a while, but now we're actually doing.
Yeah, this has been like a month and a half and...
Yeah, well, I went across the ocean, so...
Twice.
Well, I went there and back again. There and back again, Omega's holiday.
It was an unexpected journey.
It was very expected. I booked it a month in advance. But, anyway. Okay, so our word from last week was punishable. Able to be punished.
Do you know who can be punished?
Who?
Anyone who's a villain in the Punisher movies.
I walked into that, didn't I?
Yep.
Yeah, well.
There's been 3 Punisher movies and only one was good, and that was Warzone with Ray Stevenson.
You know, in the LARP organization that I used to be in, it was very easy to get punished. Which you don't think it would really go hand in hand with a game. It's not like you'd, be playing World of Warcraft, and another character would come up to you and be like, I don't think you're really convincing as a Tauren. I don't really get that from you. You're metagaming. You're not playing a Tauren. I'm telling. And then you'd be banned from all the servers for a month. Would never happen.
I think you guys... I don't know. Some LARP groups take punishing very, very seriously. Other ones... everyone takes it too seriously.
Well, when I was in a troop game, like an independent thing that we were in high school, if you got caught doing something bad, everyone was like, you're such an asshole. Don't do that, you little bastard. That's it. You're not getting experience for this game. And that was really it. What was the worst that could happen? You didn't get 5 experience points. But, being in a large organization, there was an entire handbook. There were, every single possible way that you could get in trouble for something. And, I mean, I know it sounds silly, I got in trouble at the LARP game, but, man, people took it very seriously.
Yeah.
Was it like that when you played in England? I know that you guys were troops. You weren't in one of the organizations.
We just had our sort of own things. I never got in trouble for anything, but my character was very unpopular, as you could probably guess.
What?
And
your character unpopular? I can't imagine.
Although, usually it was okay, but when I did a weekend game, which was a full game over a weekend, and it wasn't fun because at the time I was in a very, very, very not good emotional way. I was doing the full weekend game in character. Everyone was treating me like shit the entire time because, they were talking in character. And then every time we were not talking in character, we were talking out of character about the game. And so I was very, very, very close to breakdown at that point.
See, maybe if you played characters that weren't assholes.
Maybe.
Just saying.
And it's not at all related to badness.
Well, I'm just saying, you play a happy, shiny character, I'm a vampire. How are you? I love you.
I'm just not very good at LARPing, getting level ups and using things well and stuff like that. I'm a very bad player.
Oh, yeah, I know people that they'll just have single one of their powers figured out in advance, and they'll just walk right in there, and you're like, shut up.
I literally want to go in there and do some performance-based fun.
I think that there's kind of a split between, the people who really want to get there to crunch their stats and the people that want to stand around in costume.
Yeah.
But we have a special guest with us for this part of the show. And special guest, would you like to reveal your identity?
Does my being on this podcast mean that I'm a lesbian?
Yeah, you're an honorary lesbian.
Well, to be fair, I'm married to a woman, so...
Yeah, it works.
You're married to a woman, you've got a beard, you're unattractive, and you're fat. You're a stereotypical lesbian, and you don't know it.
That?
This is such a new experience for me! Hi, everybody. I'm Derek the Bard from Chasing the Muse, This Week in Geek, Nerdvice, etc. And I'm here today to talk to you about stuff and things and stuff and things. And, oh yeah, I'm on Terrible Warriors. I'm on a lot of stuff, hello.
Are you wearing a top hat right this second? Don't
One
lie.
moment, please. Yes, right this second I'm now wearing a top hat.
Nice. So this is, as we said earlier, this is our touted LARPing episode. And so we thought we really need an expert. And I've LARPed, a whole lot, and so has Hagen. But we thought we would get our very own LARP expert. So what are your credentials, Derek, as a LARPer?
Oh, dear God. I've been a member of the Camarilla fan club, now called, in Canada at least, Canada at Midnight. Called down in the States, whatever the heck they're calling it this week, for 11 years, continuously. I ran the Toronto Mage the Awakening game for 3 years. I worked at the national and global levels of this bizarre international LARP organization for probably about 3 or 4 years as well, and now I just sort of play.
Ooh. See, that's more impressive than my credentials. I fucked around in games. Then I paid to do so.
And I eviscerated Omega's PC once.
That was really cool. That was really great. Honey, did I ever tell you about that?
There's many things that you told me about and you did not tell me about. For me to answer that question properly, I would have to have been paying attention. Zing!
Damn!
She's always like this whenever we record. But no, we were at a convention, and my character, my vampire character, was super cool. She was this rednecky kind of, trailer trash character who I loved a lot. And her name was Billy Lee. And my character's progenitor, vampire, my sire, was a friend of mine named Jen, who had this super old, super famous character who was in a family clan that was kind of like a pagan thing, which is how I could describe the Circle of the Crone in like 2 sentences.
Wait, you were Irvy's kid?
Yes.
Damn!
Told you. Because Jen was like, you should be my child, and I was like, alright, I can make the character. So I was at this convention, and I get pulled into this room in the hotel, and it's full of all these people who play in the same group, and my character's progenitor says, well, you're going to join the Covenant now, so better be ready. And my character's like, okay, doesn't even know what's going to happen to her. And let me just say that the way this room was set up, I was kind of at the front of the room, and there were stage lights, because it was a breakout room, used for, whatever the hotel.
We weren't in a breakout room. We were actually in the second ballroom at the hotel.
It seemed really small.
No. It only seemed small because of the way the chairs were gathered and because none of the other lights in the room were on.
Oh, that must have been...
We were actually in, the second main ballroom of the hotel. What Omega fails to tell you is that this hotel was in the French Quarter of New Orleans as well.
Oh, yeah, because it was Grand Masquerade.
Yeah.
I forgot that. For some reason I was thinking...
Not the time I went.
No, this was the time before that, honey. I was, just meeting you on Skype at the time.
I know the one when I was there and Derek was all like, well, I can't go to New Orleans. I'd much rather stay in Canada.
I don't think I could afford to... I don't think I had a job at the time.
Like you have a job now.
Hey! See, this is why nobody ever wants to be on our podcast, because you insult people. But
actually, we've got a short list of people who want to be on the podcast, but you're too scared of them, such as the director of Where the Dead Go to Die.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that another time. But so anyway, so there's stage lights facing me. So I know that there's a whole bunch of players, in front of me. But it's kind of like an FBI interrogation. I can't even really see anything. And so basically, the player is dressed in all these flowing shrouds and veils, and she has this ceremonial blade, i.e. she doesn't really have a blade. She has an index card that says ceremonial blade on it. And so she comes up to my character, and she's like, oh yes, this will be easy. And so then what I didn't realize is that my friend Jen had kind of crept up behind me. Now, Jen is a lot taller than I am, and a lot stronger than I am. So the woman's like, then I will make this official, and she, comes in and she's like, okay, I basically eviscerate you with the knife. And I say, oh my gosh, and I react appropriately. And then Jen grabs the collar of my shirt from behind me and lifts me off the ground and says, don't worry, I got you. And so the woman's like, oh, you see her guts spill out all around the floor. And then people come from everywhere, and Derek drops to his knees and starts testing for divination to see if there's anything prophetic in my organs.
I don't think I even rolled for that.
You didn't, because it was soft RP.
The character I was playing was essentially this crazy Italian guy who basically thought he was a Roman prophet. So he did hepatoscopy and the reading of organs and entrails and stuff. And so someone actually told me that they wanted me to do this, and I'm like, yeah, cool, I'm in. This is, we're welcoming someone into our crazy vampire society. Let's, tell her what her future is.
And it was really great, because I'm being held up by the back of my shirt. And I said one of my favorite lines at a convention, because I was playing this, Texan redneck kind of character. Lambs was my favorite guts. And everybody laughed. And fun was had by all.
Oh, good times.
It was. But, so, we talked last week about who we've been calling the GOP, the Tea Party LARPer. So, we wanted to get your opinion on that. Because everyone's already heard our opinions last week.
See, I think I've actually met this guy a couple times in passing.
Oh,
none of his characters that I know of had very good reputations, which, to be fair, I'm not really sure if that says anything about him in particular. I know a lot of people whose characters are assholes, and they're decent people or okay people.
Me.
But at the same time... Pardon?
Me. You do play asshole characters, honey. I do have to give you that.
It's true. No, Diamanta's Skype image has her in the full Diamanta makeup. And it's just this great, smiling, evil face looking out at me.
Do I thought I had like me in shades.
Oh, that was like the last one. It's back to your other one now with you with the headset on.
Oh, okay. I can't see my own Skype image.
Oh. But, I mean, what's really interesting about it is I'm given to understand that the blog that reported on all this, that broke the story, is another Republican blog, which is really weird to me, because I would expect that if someone's going to pick on someone's hobby to attack them with, it would be the other party. Because, I mean, we saw that with the, there was the Democrat who played World of Warcraft.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, but no. It's Republican internecine feuding, and it's just really weird to me that out of all the things you could choose to pick on a candidate for, what he does in his hobby time, I mean, why wouldn't you just... Are the policies of the candidate that you support so similar to his that you can't actually attack his policies? Is that what this is?
I think from the story there was that he was running against a Tea Partier who already had the job on the basis that the Tea Partier wasn't conservative enough.
Yeah, this is Republican on Republican attacking, and the Republican base is a lot of things, and terrified of role-playing and terrified of gothiness are two of those things.
Well, fair enough. I don't think it speaks in any way, shape, or form to whether or not the man is suitable as a politician. It is pure 1980s populist fear-mongering.
Yeah,
it's right back to bothered about Dungeons and Dragons.
I was just shocked that he didn't think that this would happen.
Yeah, well,
because I've since heard from someone who says that apparently he tried to clean stuff off the internet, but
once it's on the internet, it's there.
Yeah,
but no, reading his interviews, it sounds like when he was working for the sheriff's department, they knew about it and they were cool with it. So he might have just figured, hey, man, guys that I work with are cool with it, and they're in law enforcement. I mean, if they're gonna be okay with something weird, it's probably not worth worrying about. Also, to be fair, he might have just figured he's running a campaign based on politics, not based on what he does for hobbies. So, whether or not I agree with the man's actual political platform, it's a silly thing to go off on, and it really does distract from actually talking about the issues.
Well, what I've heard of his political issues, I wouldn't be too in favor of him, so I'd rather judge him on being a LARPer.
He's a Tea Party Republican in Florida. The chances are, from his policies alone, he's a major asshole. But he might not actually believe in those policies, and he's just using them to be elected, in which case he's an asshole, but a hypocrite as well.
It's kind of a bit of cognitive dissonance when you get, some very heavy-duty, socially conservative attitudes from fellow geeks, or especially from fellow LARPers, because you want to be like, listen, you're dressed like an elf right now, because we're playing Changeling.
Yeah.
If you say to me, I just don't believe in gay marriage because the Bible says it's wrong, you've kind of lost a bit of the leg to stand on there.
No, it's certainly true, and it's always very odd to me to see actually just the political spectrum that LARP tends to bring out. That you will get these people who... I don't see a lot of religious conservatives in LARP. I see a lot of social conservative, or fiscal conservatives. But yeah, no, it's true. There is definitely that cognitive dissonance there. That if you are trying to run for a pure biblical society, you dressing up as a vampire and being an asshat would be a bit odd.
Yeah, just kind of a little teeny bit. And I've had arguments with people, that I've LARPed with. They were LARPed things and stuff, and I'm like, but you can't. Whatever.
I try and make a policy just not to talk politics with other LARPers.
Well, the thing is, that used to be, part of the golden rule. Like, you don't talk religion, you don't talk politics, it's just game and stuff like that. But I haven't been accused of, quote-unquote, being political simply for talking about the fact that I'm gay. And I'm like, but I'm not, like, well, you don't have to get all political about it. I'm like, I'm not getting political. I just happen to be gay. Well, we're not going to talk about that. Whoa.
Yeah. I think that LARP can be a lot of things. It can be very fun, but it is fun when you get with the right crowd for it.
What do you have to say about that, honey? Or are you Googling something?
That's all I'm saying.
Oh, for God's sake.
You can bring your own subtext.
But anyway, so speaking of having the right group to have fun with, I just saw a movie today, and it was very interesting, because it was not a movie that I ever expected. It was called Nerd Quest, and it was done by a great deal of the UK members of That Guy with the Glasses.
It was written and directed by Mike J. It starred Film Brain, and it was produced by Welshie. Other big actors involved in it were Harry Partridge, the animator guy from Tig-O-Tig, the porn critic who's not on Tig-O-Tig, Stuart Ashens.
But should be.
Yeah. Stuart Ashens, who is, I think he's connected with Blistered Thumbs, but he's bigger on YouTube. Guru Larry, who's at Blistered Thumbs and is on YouTube. Masco X turns up. She also acts in it. Jill Barrett from what do you call it? From Shapeapocalypse.
Like. From Stuff You Like on Shapeapocalypse.
Yeah, I have a tiny cameo.
Really?
Yes. You obviously didn't watch to the very end.
No, apparently not. Once the credits started rolling,
I have the Marvel Universe post credits stinger.
Spoilers.
No. I have to.
Now you have to kick yourself for deleting the file.
No, there it is.
Okay, we're going to take a couple seconds while Derek watches the very end.
Damn.
And the horrifying part of it is that wall behind her, the other side is full of DVDs. Like, you have no idea.
Yeah, I can see that. That's kind of terrifying.
No. Like, that's just the stuff that she has piled on her desk. That whole big thing behind her, the other side is all shelves full of DVDs.
Wow.
Yeah, the DVDs you can't, so you can see my wall of classic Doctor Who DVDs.
The true horror. But before you accuse us of being pirates, we received permission from Mike J. for Hagen to take the copy that she has, because she does have a physical copy, and to splice it, to rip it for us, so we could so we could discuss it. Although I do intend, when I move over to the UK, to send some pounds and get my own DVD copy.
Yeah, I would definitely like an actual physical copy of this movie because it would be in a better resolution than what it was burned to.
Yeah, there was some interlacing, but then I watched it on Windows.
Was there? I apologize.
No, don't worry about it. It was exactly what was necessary to be able to discuss it, while still making sure, essentially, that it's well worth buying the movie.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you were little and watched something on VHS.
Well, the DVD has some nifty extra features. Like it's got a recording of the complete cast read through that they did before they filmed it. It's got bloopers. It's got a director's commentary. It's got vlogs about the making of it, which I believe are also on Blip somewhere. It's fascinating. And it
also features the music of Skitch.
Yes, Skitch did the music. At the end of the director's commentary, Mike J. fully admits that my cameo was basically an apology.
Yeah, I said something to him over Twitter, and he was like, "Shut up! I think some stuff." I was like, "I was taking the piss." I used a Britishism right there. I would describe this movie as Film Brain Simon Pegg, David Tennant, and British Bulk from Power Rangers get lost in the woods and die. Spoilers.
The film itself is very reminiscent of classic 1980s slasher films.
Yes.
Parody, silly slasher movie in the 80s. Now, I did a backseat critique about it, so I'm going to be talking less than you two. If anyone wants to see my, unvarnished opinions, you can check out the backseat critique. But I will point out, again, from backseat critique, that Film Brain, because it's a mixture of the dialogue and the performance, at least for parts of it, he appears to be playing a special needs person.
See, I don't get that at all.
It's because he's playing someone he's written as much younger than he is.
Well, he reminded me of an actual guy, LARPer guy that I know, who's a few years younger than me, but I think is a little bit older than Film Brain. He just seems like, you're a young LARPer kid.
Yeah, I know a lot of young LARPer kids, and that was pretty much that.
Yeah. And it was really realistic how, when you bring your quote-unquote straight friends to a game for the first time, they're like, the fuck's this? That's stupid. And you're like, shut up.
It was actually interesting seeing some of the performances done, because they're so different from how I'm used to seeing these people perform in their shows. So Jill being very cold. I'm used to just seeing her so enthusiastic and energetic.
Things and stuff. Oh, wait, I'm a necromancer. Sorry about that. I was a little bit confused about a few points. I'll have to get some follow-up from people. I was confused about... Oh, by the way, spoilers, you guys, so...
Spoilers!
We're going to totally spoil it for you, but it's because we love you. But if you really want to understand the spoilers, you better run out and spend some pounds and go order it right now. And we're going to have right now I'll have the caption up so you can see the website and go get it for yourself. But I was a little bit confused about, the one guy that had the accident. That was awfully convenient. Was he part of it? Was it staged? What was that about? It confused me.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear that. What were you saying, honey?
So the guy that had the tragic accident at the beginning, that was awfully convenient. Was he a part of it? Was it staged?
Well, I can't answer that question, even though I've listened to the director's commentary twice. They don't mention that. As far as I can tell, it's just an accident, and Brian Blessed Jr. uses the excuse to get away to get up to mischief.
If there's a lot of...
Never actually took him to the hospital.
Well, I think that's what they were trying to imply, is that they left to go to the hospital, but at some point on the road were stopped and then murdered.
I think it was just a great reason to use gore effects.
Some of the effects were really good, like the one on the quote unquote on the camera that ends up on YouTube. That was good.
Oh, that was actually CGI.
Ooh.
That was done by Phaelus.
Blood spatter by Phaelus.
Yeah, it's commented in the commentary that was done by Phaelus. Because this is one of the few horror movies where the digital blood effect is much better than the practical effects, which is rather funny if you think about it.
Practical effects can be good or bad. I mean, I don't often see great big bunches of blood, so you could use red temper paint, and I'd be like, looks legit. You could use, cherry jello, and I'd be like, yeah, it's fine.
We are all full of chunky salsa.
Yeah, but generally when you have a horror movie and you've got practical special effects and digital special effects, when it comes to gore, the CGI usually looks worse, because practical is really there. While in this, it's the opposite. But see, whenever I was watching it, my feeling was that there would be a twist at the end, that the entire thing was set up just to freak them out, and it was all faked, and that was their form of LARPing, which was basically trolling the new guys.
I was thinking about that, or something like that, and I thought to myself, wow, they're going to get DA'd so quickly.
You can only get DA'd if the rest of the organization isn't in on the joke.
Oh my god. Well, the thing that I was thinking is, coming from a LARP organization with a very rich structure, it was always talked about, we should do one of those big campouts, but it was never something that anyone ever got around to setting up. But the first thing I thought was, give me your phones, for you can't have any distractions. I was like, oh, see, that wouldn't fly. There's no coordinator on duty. Who's getting prestige for bringing the drinks? No one knows. Then I realized it's just a show. I should really just relax.
Yeah.
I'd kind of like to talk to Welshie and Mike J, because although Mike J wrote and directed it, Welshie I think did like some co-writing. I want them to explain how the Lord Quest LARP works, because as far as I can tell, it's not actually LARPing as in pretending to hit each other. There's no rules or structure.
There seem to be, because when the mage uses a spell, she's like, okay, you're frozen for 30 seconds. So she's obviously basing that on something. But, yeah, I was totally ready for, they're like, alright, we're gonna fight. And all the newbies grown up and go, roar, and then all the, LARPers meet them, and then whip out the character sheet and say, okay, well, I'm gonna use 5th level fireball, and blah, blah, blah. That would have been a good joke.
Yeah, but during the actual bits where they're fighting each other, there seemed to be very little rhyme or reason to it. But it was more interesting looking than our actual LARP game would be in the film.
Oh, honey, I have to take you to more conventions, because, I know people that have the spare cash to spend, like, hundreds of dollars making their costume authentic.
Oh no, I was talking about the actual acting. Like, them running around smacking swords together was a bit more interesting than people standing near each other and then doing paper, rock, scissors.
No, it's true, and that's certainly one of the draws of Boffer LARPs. Because that's what they were playing, a Boffer LARP there. And that's one of the draws of it, is actually having that physicality.
Okay, fair enough.
It's like people who fight in the SCA. They really fight. Like, they really train.
Yeah, the only one I've ever done is are the World of Darkness ones.
Yeah, and that's what's some have termed a parlor LARP. Yeah. And there are a couple others like that. The Call of Cthulhu, the Fading Suns LARPs, where the focus is more on the role-playing than on the environment and the combat. But we have a couple big Boffer LARPs running here. We have Nero, Underworld. We have one called Elegy, which is a post-apocalyptic LARP where they have Nerf guns.
Ooh. You should tell Marshmallow about that. Are they as if they're in, like, I guess she'd have to go to Canada, so.
Yeah. Yeah, but I know people who are really into it, and apparently they had to keep changing the rules over and over again because just everybody wanted to bring Nerf guns.
That's awesome. I would totally play Nerf LARP. That would be great. Well, see, one of the things that, this is just coming from, a World of Darkness standpoint, one of the challenges being a storyteller, being the person that runs game, is that you have the people who just want to sit around and discuss politics and religion in character, and you have the people who want to run around and kill every fucking thing ever. And you can't satisfy both of those kinds of people, and whoever you're paying attention to for more than 5 minutes, the other group is like, but I want to do things and stuff, and you're like, but I suppose you could sit on the couch and talk some more about politics and religion again.
Yeah, there is definitely a dichotomy between what different players want to get out of the game. Some people want to get the adventure and the combat, whereas others want to get just, the role-playing. They just want to sit around and, as you said, talk about religion and politics and magic and stuff. And it can be difficult to balance that properly so that you're not alienating one or both groups of players.
See, that would have made their movie more realistic if they had people bitching about stuff like that. Where's the 10 o'clock monster? Oh, don't worry. He's coming.
10 o'clock praxis seizure.
Jesus.
Everyone, the game's ending in 5 minutes. I'm going to be Prince of the City now.
I did that, although I was goaded into doing it by the ST.
In Vampire the Masquerade and Vampire the Requiem, the head vampire in a city is the prince. And one of the cliches of a vampire LARP is that the game ends at, 10 or 11, and 5 or 10 minutes before the game ends, someone stands up and declares, I'm Prince. But because the next game isn't until a month away, nobody can do anything about this for another 30 days.
Yep. And, the other thing is that I know in the SCA, like, I've met some SCAers who, they could just tell you everything about their kingdom, and they make their own clothes and stuff like that. But I don't know what the in and out of character divide is. But, they're like, oh, well, see, now you have to speak in this, different language, and you can't call people by their actual name and stuff like that. Like, that's bullshit. Because every LARPer, at any point in time, even if someone is seizing praxis, even if you're fighting werewolves, is standing around looking at their character sheet thinking, what am I going to get at Denny's after this? Moons over my hammy? I don't know, maybe like it's extra hash browns. I don't know.
Just think how much better NerdQuest would have been if they had Denny's in the UK.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have a chain diner?
We don't really have diners, as you call them.
Why not?
We have like.
This is why you don't have an empire anymore.
We have fast food places and various other things, but nothing. No.
Where do you go at 3 in the morning when you're drunk?
The British equivalent, I think, would be going to get a kebab.
Yeah, kebabs would be more likely. Yes, kebabs
hash
made of
browns and kebabs.
Kebabs made from doner meat.
What's going on?
Basically, it's ground meat of some kind.
Lamb.
I say of some kind.
Usually lamb or dog meat.
Is it like Donner Party meat?
It is a meat that they have purchased and spiced and wrapped around a skewer and then basically just stuck over a heat until it cooks.
See, at Denny's, you could get hash browns, not indistinguishable meats.
And the kebabs, it's pita bread, usually with some sort of lettuce or tomato or onions or whatever, just filled with various spiced meats with a spicy sauce.
That's too healthy. There's no maple syrup involved.
It's a bit like, remember how when we were living in Baltimore, well, you were living in Baltimore and I was visiting, I would occasionally get a hero?
Yeah.
A bit like that, but not as salty.
Okay, I guess I can see it. But yeah, so if you're from the UK, go to Denny's. Make a pilgrimage. So.
Well, we have a couple of places that will be open that, like, probably the equivalent would be a Greasy Spoon.
Mm-hmm.
That's not actually the name of a franchise, that's just the name of sort of a cafe that can serve you unhealthy food.
I see.
Yeah. Although, weirdly enough, I mean, we did find a Johnny Rockets when we were in Dublin years back.
You know what? I have eaten at one. And that was when I was in Dublin, and I went with my friend Brendan. The unfortunate thing was the place was flooded with all these little kids with weird haircuts, or they had like these like mullet kind of wigs on, and they were all like young girls, like not even tween. And the waitress comes over, and she's like, "I'm so sorry. There's a Jedward concert next door, and it's let out, so they've all come here." And I had no idea who Jedward was. I was like, "It's cool. We're from the States. We're used to waiting."
Yeah.
And they played Journey.
Of course they did. I think what the movie was missing, the only real thing this movie was missing, though, was having a pub anywhere nearby.
Now, I've heard legends that people from other countries will LARP at a pub, and I think that's fucking amazing.
Canada, the Toronto Domain actually forced the Camarilla Canada to change its rules back around the time that I joined to allow drinking during games because we were playing in the back room of a bar.
That's awesome.
The Transact Club. Incidentally, the Transact Club was where Evil Dead the Musical was born.
Oh.
Yeah. And this was kind of a slightly run-down place, but they had liquor, and it was cheap liquor, so everyone was putting back pints during game. Vampire is more fun when you're drunk.
Yeah, see, eventually in my domain, the keyword was visually intoxicated. Meaning that if the officer's looking the other way, obviously you're not visually intoxicated, then are you? It also went for if you were gaming on IRC, which is also something that the LARP organization allows, as long as nothing like hardcore goes down. So I remember there were nights that I was drinking like Mountain Dew and tequila. I mean, like, yeah, sure, I'll help you kill the prince. That sounds great. Hold on, I gotta pee.
Nothing could go wrong with this plan.
Yeah, like I had a scene with this one girl who was playing my character's mentor, and I was so drunk. I'm like, all right, we'll have to end the scene. I just gotta go to bed. And the next day I wake up and I read back the scene. I'm like, oh shit, I'm in trouble at the next game, aren't I? And I was. I had to write a thesis paper in character. But one of the things that I liked about NerdQuest was it did have a bit of a gamers feel to it.
Yeah.
And I like that. Because it reminds me of something that me and my friends would have done in high school, you know, on a weekend. Because we did have that one friend whose dad had a camcorder. And I like that, you know?
Yeah, they, it's not exactly what camera they used, but I know they used at least 2 cameras, because I have listened to the commentary, therefore I have information that no one else has.
They're special.
There are scenes where one of them is filming something, and the other person is filming them filming something.
Damn it! You know it as well.
The one flip camera looks like a model. It's close to mine. Although mine's a Canon. I don't know if Canon... Is Canon in the UK?
Yeah. I think my camera's a Canon.
Oh, well, there you go.
It is everywhere.
What was really scary was how people were driving on the wrong side of the road. Wrong part of the car! That's not the passenger side!
So which of NerdQuest's many, many characters was your favorite?
I gotta say David Tennant.
Yeah.
I love how we don't actually know what any of these characters are called. We can't remember. Just like guy who looks like David Tennant.
Yeah.
Mr. Porn Critic.
I really thought the big reveal at the end would be that
Tennant.
He does, doesn't he, with that haircut?
That was the character David. As you can tell, I have the DVD and I'm looking at the back. It's got the list.
See, I really thought that the bad guy would turn out to be Filmbrain's mom at the end. You and your father always LARPed and you never included me.
The guy... Okay, this I didn't get until I watched the director's commentary. The idea was that partway through the film, Filmbrain gave Harry Partridge's character the lead role in the film. But that's why Filmbrain gets killed at the end and doesn't get the kill. That there is a scene where they're having a conversation, and that's supposed to be the point where
they switch protagonist spots.
Yeah, basically.
That's interesting.
It's looking at it again, I can see it, but I totally did not get. It just looked like it was fairly sloppy when I watched it without knowing that idea.
This summer, Filmbrain dies.
And
spoiler alert.
And then there was, if you look at the battle scene at the start. So this I didn't pick up until the commentary, but it's still very cleverly done by the guys. All the main characters what happens to them in the little battle scene at the start is mirrored in what happens to them later on in the film. One character gets incapacitated in the shoulder, he gets stabbed in the shoulder later on. Another one gets in game stabbed in the stomach, he gets stabbed in the stomach later on.
Good point.
Yeah. I just love I've got the sound off and I'm just watching through the video right now of it. And I'm struck by things like how the King looks like the Burger King.
He did. That's like the first time I saw him. Like, oh, he's supposed to be Burger King. Oh wait, no, it's serious. Sorry about that.
Well, no, if you've LARPed, there's always that one person who doesn't mean to come out looking like someone, but they do anyway. And the guy who decides that his LARP costume will be Batman.
That was great. Shut up, it's a fantasy character.
Batman doesn't use a gun.
Well, yeah, it's a magic gun. I thought that was great. When he was like, I have to put on my fancy dress, I knew something good was going to happen. But I was hoping he got confused and was dressed like Maid Marian or something.
Well, fancy dress in the UK just means dressing up in costume.
Oh, like we say that in the States, it's kind of like, getting dressed up nice or something.
Yeah, that's one of the little things that took me a couple of visits to America to realize the difference. But yeah, it's dressing up in any cosplay would be fancy dress in the UK.
Oh, okay. As long as it's not pantomime or anything like that.
Well, that would be fancy dress as well. There was a rather silly story involving people in America. I can't remember if this was in the UK or America, but there was an advertisement for fancy dress at a party, and then someone from the other country went over and completely misunderstood. And I can't remember if someone dressed up like as a vampire to a proper ball type thing, or if people just dressed in formal wear for a costume party. Either way, it's amusing.
Is that like the story of the Irishman who got arrested at customs? Your dad told me that like, people have a word that sounds like the word crack, but it means just talking and parlance and shooting the shit and stuff.
Yeah, it's crack.
Yeah, but it's spelled Celtically.
CRAIC.
GH apostrophe S. But
so Y floating around there.
Yeah, somewhere. But it's there's some extra Welshish kind of syllables in there that no one even pays attention to anymore. But so they asked this Irishman, he was coming to New York City, and they said, "Oh, what are you here for?" He's just like, "Oh, I've heard there's really good crack," and that was kind of unfortunate. And I think it's an urban legend.
Only said by people coming to Toronto.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was.
Your mayor does drugs.
I'm from Toronto. I can say things like that.
There were these two English guys going to Los Angeles, who they tweeted out just before they got on their flight saying that they were going to destroy Los Angeles. And in their local slang, destroy just means that, we're going to destroy the city means we're going to go in there and have fun in the city.
Oh, dear.
And so they ended up getting sent back to the UK. So shit like that does happen.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I like the line where it's like, what are we going to do now? And he's like, we're in Somewhereshire, not the Australian outback. And I was like, yeah, your country is small. Just walk east, and eventually you'll get to an ocean, and it'll be fine.
Well,
wasn't it set in Buckinghamshire?
I guess. I don't.
I think so. Yeah.
You could tell me that was outside of Alabama, and I'd believe you.
To be fair, while it may look small on a map, having walked for several hours in the UK and not found an ocean,
You just weren't looking hard enough.
My family lives up in Lancashire, which is known for its many, many rolling miles of absolutely nothing.
Is it the part where people are always filming Doctor Who episodes?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, UK's small, but it does have some variety in its geography. You've got, if you feel like looking at something that's a bit odd compared to the rest of the UK, look up Dungeness.
Is that where crabs come from?
No, it's a part in southern England. But Derek, look up Dungeness and give it a description for everyone.
Google.com. Dungeness UK as opposed to Dungeness America.
I swear there's a thing called Dungeness crabs.
There are. They're from Dungeness America. It's in, Oregon, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, is that a desert?
See?
There's a desert?
Dungeness looks weird.
It does. It looks like post-apocalyptic frontier town.
It was used as a location. It was used in a location in classic Doctor Who a couple of times. They did all sorts of weird experiments there, during World War II. You can still see radar domes there, used in World War II.
I want to go there. Can we go there? Do we know anyone there?
This is
Derek, you can come too if you want.
Yeah, I don't know anyone there, but I'd be fine to go and check it out.
Totally can. But anyway, back to LARPing, because that's what... This always happens on our show. We're always like, what can we talk about? This thing. Oh, let's talk about Doctor Who.
This place looks like a perfect place to LARP in. Someone needs to do a post-apocalyptic LARP in Dungeness.
It does look like a sort of Mad Max, but a bit colder.
Once, when I was storytelling at Vampire for the Harrisburg domain, we had someone who, his wife, worked at this used bookstore that used to be like a garage and, car repair place for years and years and years and decades. So she was like, oh, well, they said that we can use the basement. And the basement looked like, if you were going to take photographs for Clan Book Nosferatu, you would use that basement. All over the place, there were, these cobwebs and, the exoskeletons of huge spiders that had died down there. It was really creepy. Unfortunately, it was also filled with mold, too, so that wasn't a very fun game, but...
It's also filled with mold.
Well, Quasi's character, Maxwell, he's the Nosferatu Primogen, so it was just his lair, and he was fine with that.
I've played in some interesting places in my time. Lot in the backs of pubs, community centers, played in a bunch of hotels. Lot of stuff provided by the University of Toronto. And I will say that playing a game in a room that looks like it's straight out of Hogwarts is pretty cool when you're playing Mage the Awakening.
Well, what we used to do was Swarthmore campus. The university is where, it was part of our stomping grounds in our neighborhood. And we call it the Cloisters, but it's this huge bell tower. It was to commemorate something or other. And then there's part of the building that's there, and there's this, this kind of gardens that people from the community can go walk around. But it literally looks like you are in the courtyard of some cathedral in the Dark Ages. So we used to play Long Night, which was Dark Ages Vampire.
Oh, that's awesome.
Campus security would come by every so often. You guys okay? Yes, sir. All right.
There's one very famous LARPing story in the history of the Toronto domain.
Oh, dear.
Where they couldn't get a site back, old Chronicles, so Vampire the Masquerade, they couldn't get a site, so they decided they were going to play under an overpass.
What?
So they're under this freeway overpass over on the Gardner Expressway.
What was the in-character setup for that?
I'm assuming Bruja were involved.
That's a good point.
Bruja are a clan of punk vampires.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
They wear leather jackets with Dead Kennedys logos on them and scream, fuck the man. And that's pretty much the entirety of their characterization.
Constantly.
Yeah, constantly. Anyway, so They managed to apparently play there for a couple hours before the police came along and politely asked them to leave. And then not so politely told them to get the hell out.
That's great. We never got in trouble, although we did play at this one guy's house. He assured us that it would be alright, but he didn't have a very good relationship with his parents, and so in the middle, like, his mom freaked out at him for something, he kicked us all out.
Ouch.
So we went to Denny's.
It all comes back to Denny's.
That's because this was way back in the days. This is long before I was part of the organization. It was, back in our troop days, and none of us had jobs back then. So yeah, in the summer we would LARP every weekend. It usually that was like a defining part of some of those summers. Like somebody knocking on my door at 1 in the afternoon. And I'm like, what? Because I'm still, really tired from the night before. Oh, honey, Kian called. He said that there's a LARP tonight at May's house. Do you need a ride to May's house? Yeah, probably. Hold on a second. Let me get dressed up like a vampire.
When I was doing...
I never knew this about you, wife.
I was saying that whenever I did LARPing at university, every year we would do games that lasted pretty much all weekend. And one of them, it was late February in UK, all night on top of a multi-story car park, doing all sorts of vampire-y things, which was fun, especially when we had to walk there from the pub where we met up. So there was 40 people, goths, at midnight walking up, through the middle of, a town. We were terrifying the locals. It was great.
Nobody wanted to park there for days afterwards. I'll just get a ticket. It'll be fine.
Well, I actually remember back when I first started LARPing, like the very first times I was doing it, was my buddy Rizik was actually swinging by my house, picking me up and taking me to the LARP game. It was like 3 or 4 towns over. So, and we'd be picking people up along the way and squishing them into his little tiny car. As we're all dressed up, we're playing a group in Vampire the Masquerade called the Sabbat, who are basically the bad guys. And so we're all dressed up in our Sabbat costumes, driving along the highway, with Rizik with his CB radio in the car, bad-mouthing truckers whenever he pulls up behind them. And I was thinking the whole time, I'm like, oh god, we're going to die. We're going to die because truckers are going to kill us, and the police are going to find our bodies and think that we're like some bunch of anarchist psychopaths.
Oh, praise Kane. Sabbat games were great.
Praise Kane!
If you have any questions about any of the terms that we're using, White Wolf is a gaming company. I think we explained this last week, but White Wolf is a gaming company that put out the World of Darkness and New World of Darkness lines, and actually a lot of their licenses have been turned over to a company called Onyx Path, who has a lot of the old stuff and new stuff available as print on demand, so you can get that in PDF, or you can get the hardcover or paperback copies. So if this sounds interesting to you, totally check them out. So there you go. But final opinions on the movie, I liked it. I thought it was cute. I mean, obviously they had like zero budget, but for having zero budget, it was good, and I thought the script was good, so I give it totally go see.
Yeah, definitely. I liked it. They didn't have much of a budget, but you know what? It's still better than a lot of really low-budget movies that I have both watched and reviewed on my show. It was not Fable Teeth of Beasts.
Better than Schizophreniac.
Well, you know what it is when you have a low-budget movie, you have to work with what you've got. If you try to create something too big, too wide-ranging, you will fall flat. But if you say, okay, here's what we're doing, here's our, 3 sets, we're filming it out in the forest, and this is our very concise plot, then you can work with that.
I think if a low-budget film kind of has that self-awareness that it's a low-budget film, then it's a lot more... It doesn't come across as bad as other films do with larger budgets. Honey, what do you think?
But for NerdQuest, well, to see my full opinion, you could go to the backseat critique of NerdQuest, or I could give you the shorter version. It's definitely... It's far, 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 far from the worst, low-budget film but RPGs that I've ever seen. It's not the best, but then again, it's going up against The Gamers, which is a masterpiece in that, sub genre. But NerdQuest is well worth, the money it costs to buy, / torrent, I suppose.
And don't get scared if the website says pounds, because pounds will equal dollars eventually.
Yes.
Well, no, I mean, like, not exactly even, but, like, if you pay in pounds, it will come out in dollars.
But yeah, if you haven't seen it, please, at least one or two of you buy a copy, because it'll support, Mike J. and Welsh in making another film, and I'd quite like to see them make another film. Maybe one I can be in this time.
They could make
hint.
one about the mystery of why British people eat so many beans.
Plus, you were talking about schizophrenic earlier, and maybe I'm alone in this, but I think Harry Russo would have been amazing in this film.
No, Harry Russo never needs to be involved in anything ever.
Ever. So Harry Russo-phobic.
Because I've had nightmares about this character. We were in Belfast in a hotel room because we were staying in Belfast for a few days. We'd just been to Edinburgh, and I woke up in the night, and she was like, "What?" I was like, "I dreamt that Harry Russo went back in time to Mary King's clothes, and he was stealing people's skins from plague victims." Because we'd been to a museum about Mary King's clothes.
Well,
a part of Edinburgh. But that's not Harry Russo's fault. It's not my fault. It's not his fault that you imagine him in nudity.
Because you make me
I think
watch
you're
this
just
stuff.
attracted to him.
He wasn't nude, though. He was just taking people's face skins. What? He was. Anyway.
Oh, to amuse you, the guy who you described as the English version of Bulk from Power Rangers, although he's a lot more svelte than the guy who plays
Yeah, I know,
Bulk.
but I couldn't think of a good analog for him. I couldn't think of an actor he looked like.
That's Harry Partridge, the animator, and he did the Johnny Depp Lost in Tim Burton Land, and the American version of Akira, and the Saturday Morning Watchmen.
Oh, yeah.
Damn.
He's the guy that he doesn't do stuff often, like once every 6 months, but it's really amazing when he does.
Yeah, because the animation takes ages.
Oh, yeah.
He's a multiple voice actor and all. He's really, really talented.
Well, I wasn't trying to slight him by calling him British Bulk, which I couldn't think of another...
Whenever I did my voice, whenever I did my my backseat critique of it, for some reason I'd got him and Guru Larry mixed up, so the entire review I was referring to him as Guru Larry.
That he was, like, not impressed talking. No.
Well, I don't know Harry, but I do know Larry.
We talked to Larry once on Skype, did we not?
Probably, yeah. Larry's
so.
lovely.
Mm. Seems like a nice enough guy, I guess. I mean,
I'm sorry. I was just going through Facebook and I just saw a picture that it's glorious. It is perfectly crazy in all the ways that any of the crazy stuff we have discussed is crazy.
what happened?
It's a giant flaming hand and it says you can't hold hands with God when you're masturbating.
Well, if you were only using one hand, you could.
How can you hold hands with God anyway if it's on fire?
I have absolutely no idea.
I think that their message is a bit wrong. Their moral is a bit
It sounds like satire, honey.
I hope so.
No, it's on a billboard.
Oh. Right. Well then. So masturbating with God aside, I think that must have been the point of that. So, what we're going to do now is we are going to play another lovely song from Quicksilver, and then because we let this part of the show run a little bit long, we're just going to do the usual features. We're going to do Giovanni, and then the story for the store, and then the dictionary. But Derek, we will let you go. We won't hold you on for that. Where can people find you besides Toronto?
Yes, you can find me anywhere in Toronto.
All the time.
You can check out my stuff at thisweekingeek.net, nerdvice.com, geekvision.tv, or you can go straight to my Blip page, which is blip.tv/chasingthemuse.
Muse.
Mark Muse.
Which Quicksilver are we going to do here?
We're going to look at, from the same album, The Masquerade Macabre, we're going to look at Behind the Mask.
Ooh, how very masquerade appropriate. Oh, thank you, dear.
That was totally what I was getting at. That was Quicksilver, whose namesakes can be seen in X-Men Days of Future Past and Avengers 2.
What?
There's Quicksilver's a comic book character, the son of Magneto, and he's one of these characters that is owned by both rights are owned by Marvel and by Fox. So there's actually two alternate versions of the character turning up in different universes played by different actors.
So Magneto got it on with somebody?
Yeah.
Oh.
Magneto Magneto's wife died in World War II. In the original comics, Magneto
He was
was
a kid in World War II.
in the film. In the comic books, he was born in like 1925.
Okay.
So, or in the 1920s, but he became a widower during World War II and he had 3 children, but one of them was killed by the Nazis and stuff. So in the film version, in the Days of Future Past, they're claiming they said they're gonna reference a little bit that Quicksilver is Magneto's son, but they're not really dwelling on it. And in the Avengers 2, Quicksilver is not at all related to Magneto.
Oh, there you go. So that had nothing to do with Quicksilver the artist, but now you know.
Amusingly, the 2 people, Quicksilver and his sister Scarlet Witch in Avengers 2, are being played by these 2 who are playing a romantic couple in Godzilla that's coming out shortly.
Well,
and in the Marvel Comics, at least one universe in the Marvel Comics, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are an incestuous twin couple.
Right, so it's time for the trivia fact of the day. Leaving behind superhero incest. Giovanni, are you with us?
Yeah, boss, how do I look?
You look like you're wearing a cape.
Yeah, I'm a vampire. I heard you were having a LARP episode, so I thought I'd dress for the part.
Why did you tie your cape on?
Well, my exoskeleton.
You don't have a neck.
I have a neckish area. I have a place that you mammals could interpret as a neck. Yeah, speechless, huh? I thought so. I will curse you with lobster vampire powers. So, anyway, did you know that... You done?
No, never.
So anyway, did you know that Oscar the Grouch used to be orange? It's true. Gene Henson decided to make him green before the second season of Sesame Street. How did Oscar explain the color change? He said he went on vacation to the very damp swamp of Mushy Muddy, and he turned green overnight. Or maybe he just ate some bad Chinese. You never know.
I could make so many Northern Irish jokes about, a monster turning green, going from orange to green. There's just so much you could say.
There's so much you could say, but you probably get, bombed by somebody.
I'll get bombed by myself. I'm so Northern Irish, I will kill myself.
Wow. That would be really good if that would be a good horror movie, that Northern Ireland, someone has dissociative identity disorder, and one personality is a Republican and the other's a Unionist.
Oh no, that sounds like a really low-budget action movie set in Northern Ireland, made in America in the early 90s, that stars some washed-up old action hero and doing a terrible accent.
That really happened?
No, but that's the sort of story, like an even more bargain basement version of Blown Away, starring Jeff Bridges.
I see.
So anyway, if you guys are going to need me, I have a game to attend.
He's going to play with himself.
Leave my lobster alone. I'm so bad. So, this part of the show is going to be a little bit shorter than usual because we had a big chat with Derek before the music break.
Because Derek is big.
And he's got a top hat. Don't fuck with a librarian with a top hat. Just saying. So we done.
No. Well, if you're his wife, maybe you should fuck with him.
Well, yes, but that makes it sound like she's it's not a. There's some kind of grammar that's wrong with that, but I don't really know what it is.
Okay, you win. You know everything about words.
Words. But so we're going to do the story for the store, and then we're going to do dictionary time and wrap up. So this will be a bit of a lopsided episode, but you love it. You got to hear Derek, so. But anyway, now it's time for one of our features. If you're just joining us for the first time, if you've never heard our show before, I have been working for over a decade at a large chain bookstore. I have seen, heard, and experienced it all, and this is one of those times. Now,
I really hope it's going to be about vomit. I want a story about vomit.
Well,
yay.
You're in luck, honey, because this is 2 stories that involve vomit, which turned out better than they should have, but still were horrible.
2 vomit stories! Yay! I'm so pleased.
Now, these actually happened within a few days of each other, and this was when I was working in the children's department. This was a phase of my schedule for about a few months, where on the weekends I was always opening in kids. I had this woman come up to me, and she looked like she was in her, mid-30s, and she had a girl with her. A girl looked like maybe she was 7, 8, or 9. And she said to me, "So, I need a bag." And I said, "What do you mean?" She's like, "What are your plastic bags? I'm not going to steal anything. I know you have a register back here," which is a lie. I only had the desk back there. But I looked, at the back part of one of the drawers, and I was able to find one of our old plastic bags. I go, "Okay, here you go." And I probably shouldn't have done it because, technically she could be trying to shoplift. But then a couple customers came up and asked me stuff, and I forgot about it. And so about 20 minutes later, I was heading to the end of the section, the entrance, to flag down a manager, let her know I was going to go on break. And I walked past this mother who was holding our flimsy plastic bag open while her daughter is standing there and vomiting into it. And I really didn't know what to do. I mean, it's good that she was throwing up into the plastic bag and not, on the floor where someone else would have to clean it up. But then I thought...
Don't you have a bathroom?
We do. We have a public restroom. That's actually right near, or then that store is right near the children's department. And second of all, if your child told you 20 minutes previous that she wasn't feeling well, to the extent that you got her a plastic bag, why did you not, 1, take your child to the bathroom, or 2, take your child home?
It's a very, very good question. And the answer is, this is a Doug Walker reference.
Huh? Oh, okay. And then a few weeks later, there was a family, and they had a kid. He looked like he was maybe 3 or 4. And they were sitting, the husband and wife were sitting and reading magazines at the train table. And so I was, just bopping around, doing various things, setting up displays. And so the trash cans that we have are the black ones with the swivel tops. You push it one way, it goes back and forth kind of thing. And so I come back to the desk to print out a title list. And the father has the kid, he's holding the kid with his head in the swivel top of the swivel top trash can so the child can vomit. And so, I mean, again, good, at least it wasn't on the floor, because it's carpeted in the kids' department, and that would have been a pain in the ass. But, it was just so weird, and I made vague, do you need help? Should I do something kind of motions? But the husband and wife were yelling at each other in another language. So, I waited till they were done, I went and did something else, and then I came back with a sterilizer, and I changed out the trash bag, and I sterilized it and everything. And they spent another 2 hours there in the store, sitting reading magazines, while the child, who his face was an ashen shade of gray, he looked like he was definitely unwell, curled up underneath the train table on the floor and fell asleep.
Okay.
Because people are horrible. And then I've told this story to coworkers. They were like, well, maybe he has a stomach disorder, maybe he throws up a lot. And I'm like, well, even so, he curled up on the floor under the train table while you were reading magazines and fell asleep. I don't know.
I don't understand.
Me either, dear. Me either. I've seen people be so horrible to their kids. Although I've seen kids be so horrible to their parents, too, so. Meh. But, it is time for the dictionary. I'm actually going to have to bring this with me when I move.
So we can use the same one? We could get a new dictionary.
We could, because this is really heavy, and I could just get a pocket dictionary.
Yeah. And we have dictionaries over here, and, they have all sorts of funky British spellings.
What's really funny is, it's the Oxford American Dictionary, by Avon, I guess, that's the publisher. $4.95 for this, so I don't even know what year this came out. Let me see if it says. 1980. This one was published in 1980, the year that I was born. Honey, do you know what it says on the back? It says, in defense of good English.
Good American, you mean?
Should you use chairperson or chairwoman? Is disinterested an acceptable way of expressing a lack of interest? Is it correct to say the media is doing anything? Can one catch a movie? The Oxford American Dictionary is completely up to date and established a firm standard for all lovers of our language.
Some of those things, I'm fairly sure we have different standards than you.
But anyway, what page should I turn to?
Page 701.
Okay. All right, 1 or 2?
2.
Out of 18.
2.
Taper. A wick coated thinly with wax burned to give a light or to light candles, etc. Taper. To make or to become gradually narrower. Taper off. To become less in amount, etc. Or cease gradually. It's too bad you didn't choose 2 more. It would have been tapeworm. Tapioca. Tapir.
Tapir, yeah.
There's some really good words on here.
I could totally have, I'm pretty sure I could have found a tapeworm-based porno.
Or tarbouche, a cap like a fez, worn alone or as part of a turban. But that's not the word. The word was taper, so I'm sure we'll talk about candles.
Or we'll ignore it.
Yeah, or we'll be like, oh, it's a special feature because the word sucked. Oh,
and we forget. Oh, no.
So anyway, this episode we want to thank Derek, the Bard, for being part of the show. And I have been the Omega, and who do you have want to have been this week?
Lucy Liu.
Okay. Not Lucy Lawless?
No, I was looking at a picture of Lucy Liu whenever I said that.
Oh, I like Lucy Lawless better than Lucy Liu. I mean, no offense or nothing.
Well, they had a picture of the TV series Elementary, and she was a picture there, so I was like, okay, I'll go with that.
Gotcha. We'll see y'all next week.